Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Radetko, and in this session, I want to talk to you about healing at all levels with bioresonance therapy. As you may already know, I have had a lot of success with regards to my own healing from chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, Hashimoto's as well. And I've been assisting people on their healing journeys for 24 years now. I've been studying human mind and the whole human system, so not just the human body, but also the mind and the biofield for quite a long time now. And so I've had a lot of success with helping clients recover from all sorts of quote unquote incurable issues. So I want to invite you to this presentation because I want to share with you how you also can have a lot of success healing from whatever it is that you're trying to heal from when you incorporate bioresonance therapy into your protocol. So let's get into it. So what I want to cover in this session is why do I work with bioresonance therapy? What is bioresonance therapy? A little bit of a historical background and how it works. Also, what can be helped. And I want to briefly say why not all devices are made equal, because we are talking about technology. I specifically want to focus on technology that is available to us, that really many people are still unaware of, even though this technology has been available to us for a very long time. We had bioresonance devices here in Poland, at least where I come from, already in the 70s. Obviously, technology has moved on dramatically since then. So you can only imagine, I hope, how much you can achieve these days with these applications that I'm going to discuss in a moment as we go through it. Hopefully you will be as excited about it as I am. So I just want to say that this is not anything new. The principles, the concepts are actually quite old, as we will discuss in a moment. But like I said, where I come from in Poland, I've been aware of this technology most of my life. When I was growing up, when I was a child, this was already around. People were talking about it, people were using it, people were getting great results with it. And so this has always been on my radar. I have been using this very successfully for quite a few years myself. And right now, this technology is available for you to have in your own home. So you can too benefit from this, have great results, and you don't necessarily have to travel to clinics or bear huge expenses other than the initial expense that is the device itself. So I know this is going to be of interest to a lot of people. So let me tell you a little bit more about this. So why do I use this? Well, really, as I already mentioned, I have been studying, researching, working with the human system. So collectively, we're talking about physical factors, energetic factors, mind factors. I'll explain a little bit more about what I mean by this. And some people see those kind of fundamentals of health. They have their own way of describing it. I call it the triangle of healing. And really what this is about is realizing that we have our physical body, and within the physical body, we're talking about cellular processes, biochemical processes. And then we have our mind, our emotions. So emotional health will come into it also. And then when I'm talking about the energetic factors, really, I'm talking about the biofield, not only your immediate subtle field, electromagnetic field that extends 6 feet away from your body, but I'm also talking about the collective field here as well, because that also feeds into your health. So I believe in addressing the root causes of chronic health problems. Okay, if you're going to heal from anything successfully, that's what you have to do. You need to address the actual true root causes of chronic health problems. And without it, you haven't really got a chance to heal fully. Now, when I'm talking about the true root causes, I'm not just talking about addressing your gut or your microbiome or addressing chronic infections or environmental toxicity. Because even though these are clearly contributing factors to chronic illness, there's no argument about this. However, you obviously know yourself that we live in a toxic world, and we are all exposed to toxins. So why is it that some people get sick and other people don't? The same with infections. People have latent infections. Everybody's got Lyme disease in their body and all sorts of things like herpes virus or Epstein-Barr or whatever other pathogens. Now, not everybody is going to go into fully manifesting that and have symptoms that are going to limit their lives. So obviously these are contributing factors, but why is that? So we need to be looking like, what's the root cause of that root cause? What else is going on here? And so obviously we know that every single chronic health issue is associated with emotional dysregulation, which comes mostly out of trauma. But I also talk about those biofield imbalances, because the biofield imbalances themselves can dysregulate us at the physical level, mental, emotional level as well. So what's important to know that within this triangle of healing, everything affects everything else. Hence the arrows going back and forth, as you can see in this diagram. So biofield imbalances and all sorts of things come into play here, because a lot of things can imbalance our biofield, including things like EMFs, even things like ancestral traumas. In fact, ancestral intergenerational trauma can absolutely be the reason why somebody is born with a high number of glucocorticoid receptors. So as we say, this person is born wired for stress already. And so that's one thing. We also have childhood trauma, particularly attachment trauma, as well as limiting beliefs that we acquire usually very early on in our lives, with the bulk of our beliefs. And most of them will be limiting. And if that's present, then that will feed into this also, imbalancing the entire system, will result in nervous system dysregulation and limbic kindling and so on. And then also, of course, from the physical point of view, environmental toxicity can absolutely contribute to the body and mind not functioning well. So in the system, like I said, everything affects everything else. And that's the key thing to understand. So this is why I do not believe in just focusing on the diet. Yes, the diet is important. I don't believe in just focusing on the microbiome. Yes, it is important, but it's only one element of this whole picture. And essentially, when you heal your traumas and when you rewire your nervous system and when you address your subconscious programs that are limiting you and could be why you are continuing to be sick and struggle to recover, most people will heal already from that. Obviously, you will still need to nourish your body, clearly, and the dietary component, the gut component, all of that is still important. And then obviously also simply from the consciousness perspective, disease is nothing else but a low vibrational dense state of consciousness. And when we correct the vibrational frequency, we get rid of disease. So really what I'm saying is here that if you address all of these factors and you really address the true root causes, then you've got every opportunity to heal, because your body is designed to heal. It strives to heal itself in every moment of every day. It's just that usually there are things that get in the way of that. And those are the things that we need to identify and remove, be it unresolved traumas, EMS, toxins, whatever it may be. But when we do that, we absolutely have every chance of not just recovering from illness, but thriving. Because obviously health is not just an absence of disease, at least not in my book. We want to thrive. So as I said, I do focus a lot on obviously psychoenergetics of healing, and I have many very in-depth resources that can help people heal trauma. And that is basically a very important thing to do. And my approach is that people can do most of their own work with the right guidance, with the right tools and the roadmap, because a lot of people kind of jump around and use different things, but they have little success because they're not putting it together right, and then they're not doing those things in the right order. And so I get amazing results with my methodology in this area, right? And this is what my book is about. And so if you have not already taken advantage of the amazing offer we have right now for the book, for the duration of the conference, when you get the book and you also get the transcripts from the conference, and then I encourage you to do that, because the book comes with all sorts of audio and video training. So it is a very comprehensive resource if you are not able for whatever reason to take my online program. But then in addition to that, when you combine this work with bioresonance technology that I want to talk to you about in a second, I'm going to tell you right now that absolutely it is my opinion that there is almost nothing you can't heal from if you combine those two things. And it's not an exaggeration. But so let me explain a little bit more, and hopefully you will start seeing why I say that, and the image will start emerging for you in a moment. So let's remember, first of all, that everything vibrates constantly, nothing rests. Our human system is vibrational, and the language of our bodies is frequencies. And what I really want you to understand is that it is much easier and faster to affect the body with frequency than it is with chemical agents such as drugs or even supplements. Okay, this is very important. And why is that? It's because the speed of electromagnetic signals, we are electromagnetic, is 186,000 miles per second, while the speed of a diffusible chemical such as a drug or even a nutritional supplement is less than 1 centimeter per second. Okay, so if you're acting on the body with frequencies versus with anything that is biochemical, you're going to have much more of an impact a lot more quickly. And so on that basis, bioresonance therapy is about working with our systems, oscillations, not just the body, the mind as well, and optimizing them to promote healing. And when those frequencies are optimal and coherent, we have health, and when they are not, we have disease. And just to emphasize once again, everything in the universe vibrates. So you have your pathogens will have the specific range of frequencies at which they operate. Your chemicals have a specific range of frequencies that then obviously act on your frequencies, and your organs and systems and tissues have also operate at a range of frequencies that are healthy for them. And if that's disrupted, you're going to notice that, because the disease process will start setting in, and then eventually you're going to start having symptoms. So really, that's what this is all about. And so the technology that I work with, that I am talking about here, is based on or draws on the research and work of many great people, including Albert Einstein, Max Planck. He was the developer of quantum theory, which basically revolutionized our understanding of atomic and subatomic processes. Also Nikola Tesla, Robert O. Becker. Professor Robert O. Becker was an expert researcher in the field of electrotherapy, and he's the author of The Body Electric that you may have heard of. His main field of research was the regeneration of organs and organ systems through the use of the body's own bioelectromagnetic phenomena. And then we've got Professor Björn Nordenström as well. And he is the author of Biologically Closed Electric Circuits, which basically talk about the bioelectric circuit in the body. So I just want to look at some of the quotes from those great people. So Einstein said, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy. This is physics. Of course, he means quantum physics, not classical Newtonian physics. He also said, concerning matter, we have all been wrong. What we have called matter is energy, whose vibration has been so lowered as to be perceptible to the senses. There is no matter. So even if you are looking at a solid object like your computer, basically what this quote means, well, what he was saying was that the particles, the vibration slow down enough for it to be solid. So it's still energy, whatever it is, whether it's your body or the objects that appear to be solid, there's still nothing more than energy. And as he said, there is no matter. Max Planck, like I said, the developer of the quantum theory, he said, as a man who has devoted his whole life to the most clear-headed science, to the study of matter, I can tell you as a result of my research about the atoms this much. There is no matter as such. All matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force which brings the particles of an atom to vibration and holds this most minute solar system of the atom together. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind. This mind is the matrix of all matter. So obviously that's the bow here to how we can affect matter with our mind and with our consciousness. He also said, I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness. We cannot get behind consciousness. Everything that we talk about, everything that we regard as existing postulates consciousness. And the famous quote here from Nikola Tesla, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So where I'm going to go with this next is going to be based on this very simple concept. And that is that at the physical level, healthy cells mean healthy bodies. And essentially all chronic diseases at the physical level are an issue of a compromised cellular function. Okay, so healthy cells mean healthy bodies because the organization goes like this, as you can see below. Cells clump into tissues. Maybe that's not the nicest word, but you've got groups of cells that forms tissues. Then obviously tissues form organs, organs obviously are systems. And then we've got this organism that is essentially all those systems put together. So that's the hierarchy: cells, tissues, organs, systems. And what obviously this is not going to be surprising is that a well-functioning cell must be able to take in and utilize nutrients and then dispose of metabolites. So all the toxins, metabolites need to be disposed of, and that needs to be an efficient process. The cells must be able to produce ATP, which is the energy currency, and so on. We're also talking about protein synthesis and various other processes that a healthy cell needs to be able to perform constantly. And this exchange, so bringing nutrients into the cell and then getting rid of metabolites, all of that happens via the cell membrane. But here's the thing. The channels that facilitate those metabolites and nutrients going in and out of the cells, so essentially they are ions. Those channels are essentially like electromagnetic valves. So if you've ever been to somewhere like England and there are lots of canals and there are those logs in the canals, so if you know what that looks like, you've got those here, those electromagnetic logs on the canals here. And the efficiency of this transport is linked to the cell membrane potential, which is the difference in electrical charge between the inside and outside of the cell. And this is to do with those ions basically on the outside and the inside of the cell. If the cell membrane potential is not optimal, that's when you're going to have a problem, because that is called depolarization. So if it's optimal, then that's great. You've got a healthy cell, no issues. However, when that difference, so that cell membrane potential becomes more positive, or you can look at it as less negative, it's basically called depolarization. The more it goes towards the positive, basically, the more the cells initially are going to be destabilized, and then eventually, as that continues, you're going to have eventually cell destruction. So in a healthy cell, you have more negative ions on the inside of the cell than on the outside. And so essentially, the cell membrane potential is a negative number when we're talking about a healthy cell. So this is according to the research by Professor Becker and Professor Nordenstrom, and many other researchers in this field as well. So hopefully this diagram will make it a little bit clearer. So like I said, because your healthy cell will have more negative ions on the inside than on the outside, then essentially you end up with a negative number. And according to the research by Becker and Nordenstrom, a healthy cell will be around that minus 70 millivolt mark. But obviously, it could be a little bit more, a little bit less. But the point here is that as you are exposed to different stresses, and don't forget, this could be chemical, biological, emotional, of course, whatever that stressor is, essentially that's going to be contributing to the depolarization, like I said, of the cell. And so as you can see on the left-hand side, that the millivolts are going into positive, right? And so the more we're going into positive towards zero and into positive, as you can see, first the cell is going to be just aging more quickly, and then there's going to be inflammation and all sorts of symptoms will follow from there. And then eventually we're going to have cancerous cells, and then obviously cell death when there is no way for the body to compensate anymore. So eventually you're going to end up with cellular destruction and then tissue destruction, organ destruction, right? Because obviously you need to remember it's cells, tissues, organs, and systems. But when we have a healthy cell, so if you imagine the arrow reverses the other way, and we're using this technology that I'm talking about to actually make that cell potential more negative and go towards the minus 50, minus 70, maybe a little bit higher, then what you're going to have is you're going to have a more optimal, obviously, utilization of nutrients, taking the nutrients into the cell that are required, dumping of the waste, so that the cell metabolism is more optimal, the ATP, so your energy production is more optimal, protein synthesis is more optimal. So the entire function of the cell is completely different, and obviously that's going to result in healthy tissues, organs, and systems, and therefore healthy body. So if we're going to use this technology I'm talking about here, we can basically reverse those negative processes, and this is a lot more natural than taking drugs or even supplements, because of what I said at the beginning, that the signaling is a lot faster when you actually use frequencies. And so because of this fundamental way at which this works, we can obviously have a positive impact on quite a variety of different conditions. We can also use this on animals and plants if they need healing too. So let's just have a quick look. Like I said, there's going to be quite a range of things that you can help yourself with. Anything from inflammation, autoimmune processes, toxicity, aging, anything like that, including even acute infections and acute pain and injuries, certainly brain inflammation, memory issues, all of those sort of cognitive processes as well. So there's quite a range of things, but that's because of the very fundamental level at which we are working. That's the reason why. But please note, this is important. This is not about curing anything. Okay, we are talking about a completely different paradigm here. So this is quite important. You don't just plug yourself into the device and cure anything. It's not about that. It's about optimizing cellular function using specific frequencies so that we can create the best possible conditions for the body to heal what it needs to heal. The body already knows what to do. It's got an extremely high capacity for healing. The body takes steps to heal in each and every moment, absolutely. And essentially, most of the time, all we need to do is get out of the way. But of course, we also live in a strange world where we've got toxins thrown at us from every direction. We've got obviously issues with man-made EMFs and traumas and all of those sort of things. And so that, for many people, causes a lot of damage before people are even aware of any symptoms. So obviously, you know, the disease, any disease process, that doesn't happen overnight. It takes years, takes decades. So you can have this destabilization occurring over a period of time, and then bang, one day you have that extra thing going on, maybe that additional stressor like an infection or a trauma or some sort of stressor, and that puts you over the edge, and then suddenly you're falling apart. And so at that point, it's actually really great to have some support to bring the body back to its optimal level. So of course, there are a number of different technological devices on the market that can help you achieve this more optimal cell membrane potential. And what do you get if you just plug yourself to a device? Will you still get results? Yeah, you still get results. But let me tell you how I approach it. Basically, to me, that's still not good enough. Why do I say that? I say that because I still feel we can do better. Because if you just focus on feeding frequencies into your body and you do not address your mindset or emotional triggers, you can essentially be connected to the device 24/7, and your emotional toxicity, which you never address, will still be wrecking your cell function and your biofield and your mind, your brain, your neurology. So essentially, if you just plug yourself into the device and not really address some of those other parts of the triangle of healing that I was talking about, then essentially you're going to be plugged into the device 24/7, right? And you're going to be dependent on it, which to me is not true health sovereignty. So this is why, number one, I still say that we need to be working on developing self-awareness, and obviously being aware of our emotional triggers and so on. So we're not feeding the stresses into the system over and over. But I also am a proponent of technology that actually works beyond the physical, beyond what I've just told you. What I've just described is pretty major because you can do a lot with it. However, the technology that I choose to work with works at much deeper levels because it helps you also mentally, it helps you emotionally, and it even helps you with things like intergenerational and ancestral trauma. And essentially, every single chronic health complaint is linked to emotional issues, period. That's, we can't get away from that. And that's usually a result of unresolved trauma. So like I said, intergenerational, ancestral, also obviously attachment trauma is going to be a major, major problem. And then also limiting subconscious programs. So what I am saying here is that if we just worry about the cell membrane potential and just address that with the frequency device, we will still fall short. We will still fall short. We can do, and we should aim to do better than that, so that we actually have, we are able to achieve inner peace, inner calm. We are able to go about a day without triggering our fight or flight response all the time and making those cells again destabilized. So then you have to rely on some device again. So I hope this makes sense to you. I want to incorporate, like I said at the beginning, the physical, the mental, emotional, and the energetic aspects And so the technology that I work with does all of those things. And just to give a little bit more of an insight into this, there's a German physicist called Burkhard Heim who proposed dividing the information field into 12 dimensions. So the first 4 are really concerning our physical body. This is about matter, things that are solid in appearance, and this is about linear time. Then we've got dimension 5 and 6. This is really the realm of thoughts, emotions, and our subtle energy field. Then we've got 7 and 8. We're talking here about the collective energy field, higher consciousness, unconditional love, and finally levels 9 through to 12 are really about the spirit and connection to source. So the technology, the bioresonance technology that I work with basically works on those level 1 through to 8. So as you can see, a lot of the devices on the market, there are a lot of microcurrent, specific microcurrent therapy devices, and they're all great and people get results with them, particularly with things like chronic pain and something like that, and other things as well, but they only really work essentially, they very, very focus on those levels 1 through to 4, most of them anyway. And so what about those deeper levels? What about those deep subconscious programs? What about the deep emotional conflicts? The aligning with the conscious and subconscious is so important, because that produces, when that alignment is not there, that produces a lot of emotional toxicity that people struggle with. So this is what I'm talking about. We need to be aiming higher than that, than just looking at our cell membrane potential. Because in my opinion, to truly heal chronic health issues, you need to work at those higher levels. To truly heal, you need to address all these traumas, your limiting subconscious programs, deeper emotional conflicts, like I said. So I obviously teach this in my programs, right? My online programs are very much about you having enough control over your mind and therefore over your body to be able to achieve fantastic results. But when you are in the thick of chronic illness, it is nice to have this support for those days where you just can't, you don't have it in you, you don't have enough energy, or you've been struggling to get out of bed, or you're struggling to get through the day, to be then doing, in additionally, you're doing those practices and the emotional work. It's very important that we have those practices, but I think it's really, really great that we do have access to technology that can just support us and take some of that pressure off. So we can work on so many different levels with this. In addition, this is in addition to correcting cellular function, okay? So all of that cell membrane potential stuff is taken care of, but in addition to that, we can optimize our energy flow through the meridians. We can balance our chakras and our aura. We can balance emotional states and the body through Bach flower and Australian bush remedy frequencies, also homeopathic, gemstones, Ayurvedic frequencies. So the specific technology that I work with has got the entire materia medica in it. So that's 387 homeopathic frequencies, and all of the Bach flowers, all of the Australian bush remedies, Ayurveda, like I said, gemstone frequencies. We can also improve nutrient utilization. So suddenly you don't need to spend quite so much money on supplements. We can improve, we can balance neurotransmitters. And also, obviously, we can improve nervous system balance, because there are specific functions and programs that we can use to stimulate the rest, digest, and detoxify response. And that's basically your parasympathetic ventral vagus nerve engagement, which of course we have a lot of different ways that we can do, lots of different exercises we can do to stimulate the vagus nerve, but we also can do that with technology. Again, I encourage you to think about this holistically. You don't want to be dependent on any devices. You still want to build self-awareness. You still want to build a good relationship with yourself, because that's really what true sovereignty is. When people work with their mind doing my programs, they already obviously are doing a lot of the healing work. But like I said, now we have the technology that can support it and accelerate it, because even when we have an exhausting or stressful day, or we are too fatigued to do the emotional work or meditate or whatever else we need to do, we can still connect the device and it can still help us, and we can actually put ourselves back on the upward spiral, so then we can do our meditation practice or our yoga or qigong practice. Plus, the technology I'm talking about can actually help you balance your conscious and subconscious. I briefly mentioned that, which is a pretty major thing. And sometimes that's very challenging, even when people are properly engaged in trauma work and emotional work. That can be actually quite a tricky thing to do. And I want to be absolutely clear that every single one of us already has the ability to heal the body with the mind. We already have that ability. That's not our innate ability. We have the same abilities as all of those devices, all of this technology. We already have that. However, there are very few people currently who are, one, aware of their own capability and their own power, and two, very few people who can actually use those abilities successfully at this time, because there is just so much out there in the external that is constantly pulling people down into those dense states of consciousness, of fear in particular, but also grief, guilt, shame, anger. So when experienced chronically, those are obviously quite toxic. And when people are stuck in those survival states and those dense emotional states will basically put people in fight or flight or freeze response all the time. When people are stuck in that, sometimes it's very difficult to break away from that and to break the cycle. So that's when we can use those other modalities, and the bioresonance technology that I'm talking about here is absolutely brilliant to help you break away from that and actually put you on that positive spiral. So then you can just build your health and build your health and build your health, and then basically thrive and put yourself at an optimal level where you absolutely deserve to be. So just the final words here. Again, please remember, this is not about curing anything. This is, we're talking about a different way of thinking. Like I said, this is about integrating all these different aspects of healing and creating the most optimal environment for healing at both the cellular level, obviously tissue, organ, system, but also by optimizing the mental and emotional body as well, and the subtle energy field. And when you do that, essentially in those conditions, when you create those conditions, no disease can be present. And that is it. So I hope that this was interesting, that you've learned something from this. I wanted to put this on your radar. I wanted you to know that such things exist and are quite affordable for people to actually have at home and do a lot of the healing themselves. And so if you want to know more about this, if this has sparked your interest and you want to find out more, then please just contact me and I will forward you more information. So I want to thank you for your attention. Thank you for being here. I wish you all the very best on your healing journey. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you will go on enjoying other resources that I will be sharing with you. Thank you.